Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I want to have a hard conversation with the retro gaming community. One that I think we've all have already been having, but this one hits a little bit more close to home today because of a comment that I recently got on one of my videos. Recently, one of my viewers mentioned that they retired from the hobby of retro game collecting because of the inflated prices, which, in his opinion, were caused by a lot of YouTubers such as myself. First off, to that commenter, I want to say that I'm flattered that you think that um, my channel could be included in the list of YouTube channels that have impacted gaming prices. Thank you. Um, he also mentioned that he was going to be saving his money to buy a bigger house. Congrats to you, sir. You're doing much better than the majority of Americans today if you already own a home and you're attempting to move into one that is larger. You are more fortunate than a lot of folks. But I just want to remind that commenter, along with everyone else, that the hobby of retro video game collecting is a luxury, right? Because it requires you to have enough disposable income to actually purchase video games. You have a lot of people who can't afford video games at all. So if you're a person who has a collection of video games, but you're just um, really disgruntled that you can't continue buying video games for cheap, that's a first world problem, to say the least, right? Um, but to that commenter, I'd also want to say that the challenges that you're facing when it comes to buying video games is a challenge that you're going to face with almost anything that you try to buy, because prices of a lot of things are inflated. Almost everything is inflated. I read a report where it said that the average family of four in New York today needs nearly $320,000 to live comfortably. The average cost of a house in America today is close to $400,000, and the average salary is $75,000, which means that the majority of Americans cannot afford a home even if they wanted one, right? So, to me, if you're a person who has a video game collection, if you're a person who's buying and collecting video games, my automatic assumption is that all of your other ducks are in a row, meaning you have stable income, you have a stable roof over your head, you have the ability and wherewithal to not only take care of yourself, but take care of those who are dependent on you, and you have the disposable income necessary to engage in a hobby as expensive as retro game collecting. If you are not in that position, and if you are not where you need to be, my strong advice is that you stop video game collecting today, right now. And not only should you stop collecting video games, but you should, in fact, go ahead and sell your video games and use that money to put yourself in a better position in life, right? Um, Now, don't get me wrong. I know that a lot of the viewers of the channel are, either in grade school still, you don't have any real responsibilities. You kind of just living at home with your parents, and, you have the time to play video games. To that segment of my viewers, I say enjoy your youth, enjoy your childhood, make the memories, and have a good time. To the segment of my viewers who find themselves in the post high school, undergrad, getting ready to go into graduate school, you have much bigger fish to fry because you have to figure out how you are going to build a sustainable life for yourself under these economic conditions. I honestly feel sorry for the financial challenges that this generation that's coming out of college is going to face, because it's not the same as it was less than a decade ago. Um, when I was in my 20s, I didn't really go out, and I spent a good chunk of my 20s working really hard, working really often, and saving a lot of money so that I could purchase my home years before the pandemic was even a thought. Now, today, if I were to try to duplicate the steps that I took to purchase my home back when I was in my 20s, it would be near impossible through no fault of anyone other than the Fed and inflation, which is a video that probably belongs on a financial channel. We're talking video games here. I say all that to say that, again, let's keep things in perspective. Before we start to whine and complain about the prices of video games, let's remember these are first world problems. If video games have become too expensive, then there's a lot of ways that you can build up funds to afford them. Perhaps selling the games that you no longer play. Perhaps selling things around your house that you no longer use. Maybe work a little bit of overtime. I don't know. But for that gentleman who said he retired from collecting due to the price and that he was going to save money to buy a bigger home, man, I hope you're saving more than what you would spend in video games, because you're going to need a lot more than that to buy a bigger home in this economy. Because not only are prices going up, interest rates are going up, and it's become exponentially more expensive for you to purchase a home than it was even just a few years ago. As for me, oh, and then here's the other thing that you can do before I even get into that. Maybe you should think about switching up what you collect. You don't always have to go for the most expensive games. You don't always have to go for the high dollar items to feel like you're collecting something that's quality. The last few weeks, I've been collecting NES games, and that's why I have them showcased here. Double Dragon 3, $12. Double Dragon 2, $10. Ninja Turtles the arcade game, $10. Ninja Gaiden 2, $10. Ninja Gaiden, $10. Strider, $9. Excitebike, $7. Duck Hunt and Mario, $5. Mag Max, $8. Akari Warriors, $9. Friday the 13th, $12. I'm showing you this because these are all amazing games. These are amazing games. Depending obviously on the gameplay that you like, right? Depending on what you're into. But they, like companies like Limited Run and, Strictly Limited Games, they're making modern retro games that are modeled after these classics. These are the games like The Messenger, where do you think they got the concept for The Messenger from? Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is the original Messenger. Now, if you're not familiar with what The Messenger is a $200 game on the Nintendo Switch. But they got that idea and a lot of those concepts from this $10 game right here, Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden 2. You can't afford to buy Shredder's Revenge and get that on the Switch. Well, guess what? You can get the Ninja Turtles arcade game for $10. You have options. You don't have to go for the most expensive game. You don't have to buy the most expensive console. And I think we're getting to a point where if you are a collector, you may just have to get a little bit more creative with what you're collecting and how you're collecting it. Now, of course, there are other ends of the spectrum, right? And there are tiers. If you can afford a little bit more, Contra, $25. Castlevania, $25. Battletoads, $25. Metroid, $25, right? So there's tiers, there's levels to collecting. You don't have to go for the super cheap stuff. Maybe you go for the mid-tier stuff. Maybe you go a little bit more. Silver Surfer, $30. Journey to Silius, $40. You have a bigger budget? Go for Batman. Go for Shadow of the Ninja. Go for the Mega Man games, or maybe even the Mighty Final Fight, right? There's tiers to everything, and there's levels to everything. And I don't want you to feel like you need to quit something just because, you can't buy that $200 game. And I practice what I preach. For those of you who know, I initially started this quarter off hoping to be able to buy games like Super Turrican and Alyssa Dragoon and Mega Man 8 or Mega Man 7 rather on the NES. Those are all $200, $300, $400 games. And I realized, you know what? I can't do that right now. it's not smart for me to do that right now because I had to renovate one of the bathrooms in my home. But it didn't mean that I couldn't enjoy the hobby of collecting. And it didn't mean that I couldn't go out and get games like Double Dragon and Ninja Gaiden that are just as fun to play and are just as fun to collect. So the hard truth is that times are harder, and affordability has decreased, right? Not many people can afford to do a lot of things, including buying video games. But instead of placing blame and instead of getting upset, try to find a way to still enjoy the hobby, even if it means trading games, even if it means selling games, or even if it means going after some of the lower end games that are still tons of fun. There are so many games that are $10 and under that will give you a world of fun, but you just got to get out there and you got to keep your ears to the street and you got to be willing to hunt. And that's also part of the fun. But let me know what you think down below. Am I just completely off my rocker? Am I just, living on another planet, or is there any truth in what I'm kicking here? It's the Y2K Collector. Hopefully you had a great Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, and I am so happy that I do not have to do any work this weekend. I am going to chill out and relax with the fam, and you know what? Play some doggone video games, and you should too. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.